Hello and good morning. I have been doing a lot of content about meditation and yoga. I'm a yoga therapist and a musician, and I've been putting it on Facebook in a small private group. But I felt today like I should put something out a little bit broader to YouTube. This isn't really going to be, it's not an exciting process to watch meditation, but it is very helpful to have someone guide you, especially if you're learning, or even if you just want to essentially not feel alone. You can work with a video or a guided meditation, and it's really very pleasant. So I like to light a little candle at the beginning of the session. And this is just a reminder that we are always surrounded by a higher power, whatever you want to call it. And life is in motion. It's meant to change, and change is safe and good because we are always guided towards our highest good. And we ask that that be the case today. So I usually run a class at this time, but my class is canceled because the students are sick. So I was just going to show you about the little ball. So you may have heard about fascia if you're interested in yoga. Fascia is essentially a connective tissue. It looks sort of like a spider's web, and it kind of holds your organ in place. So if this is your organ, then the fascia surrounds it so that it stays in the right spot in your body. And the fascia is not like a glove or something solid. It's actually a live, moving tissue. And it sort of does this kind of thing all day, where it's moving and combining and changing as you move. And you need to have good hydration, and that will help you with your flexibility. Sometimes things get stuck and it's just not moving properly. And the balls are a really great tool for that. So there's a couple of different ways that I've used them. Like, for example, if I have some discomfort, sometimes I play a lot of instruments because I'm a musician. I'll have like a spot that's really tender for some reason, overuse or from working out, because I also weight train. And then the ball is a really nice way of doing self-massage because you can adjust the pressure accordingly, but you're not working your hands and your fingers. If you work with your fingers a lot, your hands will get tired really quickly. And it's also really easy to get into hard to reach areas with the ball. And then if you want to move quickly, you can get a little bit deeper into one spot, or you can just use a slower long stroke. But you're also working with the hands. And I'm a big student of reflexology as well. So reflexology is this idea that all of your nerve endings for your organs end in your hands and your feet. So you can essentially take care of the body's organs through rubbing your hands and your feet. But again, I have the same problem with my hands getting tired. And the ball solves that problem. And even when you're doing this, you're also getting a bit of a hand massage as well. I like to lay on them on the back, at the top of the neck, anywhere where you're feeling tight and things aren't moving, and then just imagine that the area around the ball is melting. That helps a lot. And then there's also using it on the bottom of the feet. So you just roll on the ball and adjust if you have pain, back off, and if you're wanting a little deeper, you can push a little harder. It works well to do that from standing, but it doesn't have to be standing. This is the kind of thing you can do while you're sitting on the couch. But you're basically giving yourself that same nurturing reflexology massage, but with very little effort. That's one of the reasons why I got interested in studying yoga therapy, is the exercise mentality of yoga being a series of motions that you move from one thing to the next, to the next, to the next, to the next, is something that didn't really resonate and appeal to me. I like to go slow. I like to take my time. I take really long inhalations and exhalations because of all the breath training with the singing I've done. And when I started looking into it and studying yoga therapy, I realized there's this whole other side of yoga with using props and restorative yoga, where essentially you put the body into different positions and you get the gravity to do the work of stretching out those muscles instead of physically stretching it out as you would in like most yoga classes that you go to. And I like that idea because I've been in my life too active, maybe like even hyperactive at times, a little bit workaholic and busy all the time. So learning something that the whole purpose of that is to slow down was really helpful for me. So, for example, what I was going to do today with my class was run them through a posture on the bed. So I have the bed set up there, and I have the mat on the bottom of it. And essentially, you just lay onto the bed with your knees on the ground, or sometimes the blocks are there because you have to have the right height above the table. So if this is your table, you have to have a little bit above the hip joints on top before you can fully fold forward. And what that is essentially is a supported downward dog. So downward dog is the most, in Ashtanga, which is the teacher training I took, it's considered a rest posture. But it's really active because you're essentially in a triangle with your hands and your feet and your back end up in the air. So your wrists are really working hard. A lot of the time people end up with wrist problems because they're not distributing the weight across the base of the fingers, which is where the weight really should be held. But they use the wrist, and then the wrist gets sore. And you're upside down, which people can sometimes find stressful and disturbing. So using the bed is a really simple way of getting around that. And I would show it, but I have to have my little thing plugged in right now, so I can't. This is my little friend Blackie. He loves yoga and meditation. I don't know if you can hear it, but right now we're listening to little meditation music that I created on my tongue drum. I did another recording of the tongue drum. I think that's actually this piece. It's groups of 2s and 3s with space between so that you can really think about it. And he loves it. He's a very nervous kitty, but it calms him right down, right? Can you hear him? He's purring. Yeah, he's my buddy. Okay, so here's some things that I usually run over with meditation. You can lay down and meditate. The problem with doing that is that you will get confused potentially between meditation and sleep. Meditation isn't sleep. Sleep is something different. But you don't want to get them confused and fall asleep during meditation, although it's not the worst thing in the world if you fall asleep during a meditation at all. It's just that if you get confused about it, you might have trouble sleeping because your mind may think that you're meditating eventually, right? And what we're really doing is focusing the mind. and trying to stay present in the body, which you can't do when you're sleeping, because when you're sleeping, your mind kind of goes, your consciousness goes off into its reset fantasy world. So here's a few things that I find really helpful for me with meditation. I have some problems with my knees, so I always like to use some kind of bolster. This is Shelly. I named her Shelly because of her beautiful color, and she's very supportive, which is a joke because it's a bolster. Bolsters are supportive. And then pillows. I use pillows to support the knees because you're basically in a butterfly posture when you have your legs crossed. So your legs are crossed. Let me just show you that. So your legs are crossed, which is fine and comfortable. But the knee, without the pillow, is just hanging out, and that puts strain on the joint. But if you have a little bit of a pillow underneath it, then everything can just relax. Your knees can relax, your joints can relax, and then you're more relaxed for your upper body. And then for the arms, if you've ever really tried to hold your arms up for a long period of time, you'll notice how heavy your arms are. Your arms are very heavy, and if you're going to sit still for a while, it's nice to have another pillow underneath each one of your arms. It helps me with my neck and shoulder because of all the instrument playing and being kind of an, intense person. The neck and shoulders usually bears the brunt of that. And so it's nice to have the support. So I'll just show you that too. If you have the support of the arm, then the shoulder isn't holding the arm up anymore. When the shoulder isn't holding the arm up, your whole upper back can relax because you do want to stay seated and you want to be sitting up straight. It's nice to add a simple mudra. This is the simplest mudra for meditation. I like this one. And then the hands lay like this, so the palms are up. That just keeps you in a receptive state. So experiment with your positioning a little bit. So let's work with mindfulness. Mindfulness is the simplest form of meditation because you're just coming back to the breath. No matter what happens, come back to the breath. Coming back to the breath means experiencing your body moving with respiration. So feeling your ribs moving, your belly expanding, your back moving as you breathe in. The expansion of the inhalation and the contraction of the exhalation. I'm going to sneeze. That's a good one. It doesn't matter if you're breathing shallow or if you're breathing deep. We're not in judgment. There's no good breathing or bad breathing. Just paying attention to the breathing. Feeling the body moving with the breath. And so you may have a thought. This is stupid, I can't do it. It's too hard, what's for dinner? It doesn't matter what the thought is. Just imagine placing it inside a balloon, a bubble, a cloud, and allow it to float away. You can trust that if it's important, you will think that thought again. It will come up again later. For now, put your focus back on the breathing. Sitting up straight. Feel the rib cage moving. The lungs expanding. The body contracting with the exhale. Have a thought and let it go. Come back to the body. Feel your breath. And as we practice, you may have a persistent thought. It comes back. You can practice just labeling it. So not a judgment, just a label. I'm thinking about dinner. Well, that's planning. Let it go. Feel your breath. I'm worried about my son. That's the future. Let it go. Feel your breath. And as you sit, you may realize your leg has fallen asleep, or you're not as comfortable as you thought you were, or you have something bothering you with your clothing. And feel free to fix that. Move your leg. Change your seat. Remove the clothing. Get a blanket if you're cold. And then come back to the breath. And sit up straight. Feeling your breath. Listening to yourself. And put the thought into a cloud, a bubble, a balloon, and let it go. you'll find if you look at those thoughts, they are planning the future, the past, a story, an entertainment, a distraction. It's the mind doing the mind's job of being busy and chatter. When you can let go of the judgment of that, label the thought and let it go, this will become easier and easier. It's the judgment that causes the drama. It's the judgment that causes the pain. It doesn't mean you ignore your leg that's fallen asleep. Move your leg. Reposition yourself. Get comfortable. And continue. But it means when you notice your thinking, we don't then judge ourselves about the thinking. We just notice, oh, I'm thinking about summer. That's the future. Let it go. Come back to the breathing. Now a few moments of silence. I'm going to roll my tongue back and down and press it onto the roof of my mouth and roll my eyes up to aid concentration. Now let's bring hands together and clap them, rub them. Create some heat between the hands. Place the hands over the eyes. With eyes closed, look all the way up, all the way down to one side and the other. All the way around in one direction, all the way around in another direction. Blink your eyes open and lower the hands. Namaste. So even for me with a lot of experience meditating, like I started studying meditation with Ginger Coons at the Meditation Institute when that was like 2003. So it's been a long time for me. I still find myself planning and thinking. I do a lot of planning about the future, and then I have to keep coming back to the breath. But the mistake that we make with our Western mind is we go, well, that's not right. What we should be doing is not thinking. However, that's pretty impossible, and that's the best way to feel bad about yourself and your meditation. And then the mind wins, because now we're feeling bad about ourselves and our meditation, we're in judgment of ourselves. Now we have a negative association with meditating, and we're not going to do it anymore. Perfect. We can just stay busy and distracted for the rest of our lives, which is where the mind is comfortable. So the important part isn't that I was thinking about summer and summer camp and recital and, how many yoga therapy sessions I can do in the summer. And that's not the important part. The important part is that I noticed that I was thinking, that I let the thought go, trusting that if it's important, it will come back, and then come back to the breathing. We are confused because we think the discipline is not thinking, but what the discipline is coming back to the body, coming back to the breath. Coming back is the practice of focus. Focus doesn't mean like, if I'm looking at my cup, here's my cup, I'm just going to look at it. This is focus. So now I'm looking at my cup. But I could be looking here, or I could be looking here, or here, or here, or here. And it's all focus. It doesn't have to be one point. If I want to focus on that one point, my eyes are going to wander. But if I keep coming back to that one point, I'm developing focus. And that's just exactly what you do with the mind. So I hope that people will watch this and find it helpful. And please don't comment on how fat I look, or how old I look, or how tired I look, or anything like that. I just had surgery a few weeks ago, and I am old and I am tired. So, right? Tell me something I don't already know about myself, That would be, I don't think you could, right? I have people close to me that tell me when I'm full of it all the time. Anyway. I'm going to take a chance and put this up on YouTube, and I hope that people will find it useful. Namaste.